Well. It's been a couple days and I'm late to this, but the Bengals are officially listening to trade offers for Trey Hendrickson. And regardless of the outcome of this, whether he stays or he goes, it's going to have a huge impact on the Bengals season. Let's not forget how much of a dog this guy is, man. You want counting stats? How's 35 sacks in the last 2 seasons? You want pass rush win rate? How's number 2 in the league among edge rushers? And let's not forget where this Bengals defense was at overall last season with that type of player in that pass rush. I mean, this is a graph from the first 13 weeks of the season, how good their defense was on early downs. And yeah, this is not good. And yes, I know I just kind of cherry picked and chose a graph that was for the first 13 weeks of the season. But first of all, this is my graph, so fight me. And second of all, after that point, they played Cooper Rush, Will Levis, whoever the Browns quarterback was at that point. You see where I'm going with it. Regardless, you could look at any defensive graph last season that isn't a Trey Hendrickson graph, and that would tell you that the Bengals defense was not good last season. And that was with a top 5, top 3 pass rusher in the game. And as we're entering this season, it doesn't look like they're going to have that type of guy on that defense. Even if Trey Hendrickson sticks around, there's already a massive spotlight on this Bengals defense, especially the young guys throughout this defense, to show improvement and development to get the Bengals defense back to where it was even just 3 or 4 years ago. And that effect is only going to get more exacerbated if Trey Hendrickson does end up leaving. The Bengals also did not do much from a free agency standpoint to address a defense that was below average against both the run and the pass. They let go of a lot of the old guard this offseason, guys like Jermaine Pratt and Von Bell. Sam Hubbard retired. And in response, they did not bring in many proven NFL guys in free agency. They really only made 2 defensive acquisitions on that front. One is Oren Burks, the linebacker from the Eagles, who I actually really like, savvy signing. He was good in limited snaps last season and played a pretty important role in the Eagles' Super Bowl run, making some key plays. But obviously, these are much bigger shoes to fill as a likely full-time starter on a Bengals defense that is a lot weaker than Philly's. The other player that they brought in was TJ Slayton, a defensive tackle for the Packers. He's been a good innings eater, durable, can defend the run a bit, but based on the advanced metrics is nothing special. So the Bengals are really relying on the young guys that they've taken over the last few drafts, including this one on the defensive side of the ball, to bring the defense back to even just an average level like it was 4 years ago. Since 2022, the Bengals have spent 7 first or second round picks on the defensive side of the ball. As much as this pains me to say, since so many of these guys are Michigan people, you can make the argument that none of those guys that have been in the league for at least a year have looked like above average players. And they really need some of these guys to step up. Myles Murphy was a first-round edge pick. Shamar Stewart, obviously the rookie this year. Chris Jenkins, a second-round D tackle. Who else? DJ Turner, second-round corner, I believe. Cam Taylor-Britt, Dax Hill, both early-round corners. Despite the lack of free agency additions that the Bengals have made on the defensive side of the ball, you can't fault them for a lack of overall investment into their defense because they've pretty much thrown all of their premier draft capital into this defense the last 4 years, while their offense has been performing at such an elite level year over year when their top guys have been healthy. They just need some of these guys to provide value on their investment. I think there is room for optimism here, though. In terms of the secondary, DJ Turner has shown flashes. Dax Hill had a nice end of the season when he got moved to the perimeter. Cam Taylor-Britt has made a few things happen throughout his time as a starting corner in this league. Then you have Myles Murphy, who didn't get as much play time under Lou Anarumo, who might now get an expanded role. Obviously, Shamar Stewart's an exciting first-round pick. Joseph Asai, they just signed him to a 1-year prove-it extension. That's always nice to have that motivation. Chris Jenkins is a big one, though, for this interior to provide some run-stuffing ability, because that's where the Bengals really struggled last season, was actually against the run. Safety room is definitely a bit of a concern, though, for me after last season, because Geno Stone and Jordan Battle both had very down years, and they made pretty much no investment into that safety room. So yeah, player development is going to play a pivotal role into the Bengals defense and the Bengals overall ceiling this season. And that is a big reason why they ended up making a switch at defensive coordinator this offseason. Lou Anarumo, man, I love that guy as a defensive coordinator. He had many a clutch moment in the postseason over the years, but unfortunately, his inability to develop some of this young, early round talent that the Bengals had on defense proved to be his demise with back to back disappointing seasons for this unit. And in comes Al Golden, the defensive coordinator from the Irish, who during his time in college did a very good job developing younger talent for that Notre Dame team that blossomed this year, especially. And so the Bengals are going to hope that he can carry over those youth development traits to the professional level. Shout out Logan Wilson, by the way. I didn't mention his name amongst all the young guys, but what a good player that man is. He's one of the last men standing from the old guard, and he's probably going to be the leader of the defense this season, and they need him to be. So I guess let's talk about this offense now. It's pretty damn good. Okay, more seriously, there are a couple of lingering questions with the Bengals. Most significantly, their offensive line, which kind of like the Jets at this point is just a perennial problem. Ted Karras, their center, is a great pass blocker. Obviously, Orlando Brown has been good at times, but also sometimes not so good. Probably an average left tackle, but outside of that, the Bengals need improvement. Right tackle, Marius Mims, he was their first round pick last year. He had an okay season. They'd like to see some growth out of him. The interior offensive line, though, those two guards, that's the big issue. On the left side, they drafted a third rounder, Dylan Fairchild. He's going to become a starter instantly for this team, and those are big shoes to fill for him. Right guard, they brought in Cody Ford a couple years ago. He was, not the best last season. Let's put it that way. So they brought in competition, Lucas Patrick, but he was also not a starter last season. So yeah, have to have a bit of concern on those two guards. Running back's also an interesting one for the Bengals. Chase Brown is taking over as the primary back. He was pretty efficient last season and pretty exceptional from a statistical standpoint. He took over that backfield in the second half of the season and made it his. Will be interesting to see if he can make it happen again for another season. He's probably not the most high-profile running back name out there, but if he can deliver again, he might be a slept-on player. Behind him, though, there's not too much depth, so they're putting a lot of trust into him, so you got to respect that. They did draft Taj Brooks, though, 6th-round running back out of Texas Tech, and if the opportunity presents itself, he could be an option. I'm just going to throw that out there. Overall, though, no concerns majorly on this Bengals offense. Joe Burrow might get put on the ground a lot with a subpar offensive line and a lot of concerns made about his own pocket presence as of late. I guess the preseason game does not help with that. Hangs on and is spinning around looking for a block. Go down, Joe. It's August. But they're just too skilled on the perimeter and at the quarterback position that I just trust them to be able to figure it out. It's a huge season for Zach Taylor, though. Playoffs are bust at minimum for him, and as good as the Bengals have ended seasons in recent years, it's been their performance in September that has blocked their ability to go play in January. They're going to really need to start the season well this year. They play the Browns and Jaguars in the first 2 weeks, and that needs to be 2-0. They can't be doing what they did last year, where a week 1 home loss to the Patriots is the difference between out or in. Overall, though, I think the Bengals will make it back to the playoffs. They could use some trade deadline acquisitions either on that offensive line or to help bolster that defense, but the offense on that perimeter is too explosive, man. And with all the young guys that are on that defense and Al Golden, a college coordinator, coming in, I don't know who exactly is going to kind of take the step up, but I feel like some guys will, and we should see enough improvement from the Bengals defense to bring them back into the postseason. Past that, though, I'm not making any promises because Burrow, Chase, Higgins, they'll give you a chance in any game, but with the Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens having as good quarterbacks, as good offenses, and more proven defenses entering this point of the season, I can't put them over any of those other 3 teams in the pecking order. But hey, if Trey Hendrickson somehow stuck around now, none of those 4 have an edge rusher like that. Another season preview done, though. Till next time, I'll see you.